One of the things you kind of constantly hammer on is, awakening to one's sorrow. And what does that really mean?
Oh, it's a very good question.
Maybe for the next part.
Very good question.
For the next
You want to do it in this episode, or do we have... okay, so we'll go into it.
Right.
Now, let's go back and use the metaphor of the necklace with many beautiful beads. Me, as a good father, as a good husband or good wife, and as a good citizen, and as a successful man, businessman, or whatever it is, you've got all these accolades. And somebody comes and breaks that one bead, and then that image is gone. What was your question?
So my question is, what did you always keep talking about awakening to sorrow?
Got it.
Especially in the field of relationship.
Yeah. Right.
So I wanted to understand that, and I also want to contrast with how it is different from, say, for example, in Buddhism they talk about suffering, and I want to understand the difference, not in the dictionary sense, whether it's a noun or a verb, but what does it mean?
See, suffering can arise from any field at all. It can arise in a field of relationship where you had a relationship which gave you the impression that it's extremely durable. And so you had a jolly good time in that relationship, and suddenly it turns into a nightmare. That can happen. Or you were at the pinnacle of power and glory in your profession, and then you get into a scam, and then your glorious image is tarnished by the papers, and you're fallen into disrepute. It can happen like that. Or you never gave it a thought, whether death is around the corner or disease is around the corner, and then suddenly cancer overtakes you. So it can happen, it can break out. The suffering can break out in hundreds of areas of life. And when it breaks out...
And suddenly,
or even gradually, it can happen gradually also, you've got to give ear to it. You've got to give ear to it. You've got to listen to the lamentation of thought and feeling. Thought and feeling are having a lament. They are grieving. Thought and feeling are grieving. And at that time, you should come back within yourself and you should listen to their sob story. That's awakening to sorrow.
I want to make sure, our viewers are clear about this, that, awakening to sorrow is different from self-pity and self-loathing. I want to make that clear.
The futile activity of self-pity and the futile activity of self-loathing, you hate yourself, you feel guilt and remorse and all of that. That's one particular apaswaram of self-knowing of sorrow. It's also sorrow. But unless and until you give ear to it, you don't discover that it goes on ad nauseum. It goes on and on and on. And it's not a happy thing. It's a very painful thing. And therefore, you have to make a clean breast of the discovery. You've got to discover it for yourself. And got to listen to it very deeply. That's awakening to sorrow.